Norman, we'll get yours in a minute, but we do have Representative Issa right now, the Republican from California, to talk about the misrepresentation and the mistakes on the website about how many jobs have been created or saved. Tell us exactly why you think this is so extraordinarily important.
Well, the reason it's so important is really because these numbers didn't need to be there. We could have said, here's where the money was spent. We could have said, we sure it created jobs, or we could have said this many people were reported, but of course it's not necessarily accurate. Instead, what happened was everyone up to and including the vice president has relied on these numbers, gotten them quoted on television, down to the last 3 digits, and in fact, the figures are off by 10, 20, 50, perhaps a couple of 100,000. Earl Devaney, who is doing a wonderful job of refining this website, said, look, this is hard. We don't have it right. We're going to continue to try to get it right. We have some fixes. We'll keep you posted. And that's the right attitude to get from government, which is don't believe this, but we're going to continue to improve it. Work with us because the end of transparency in government is worthwhile. And both the chairman and I agreed on that part, even though we may have disagreed on this relatively minuscule number of jobs saved to begin with.
Well, I'm glad you're complimenting the folks who are running that website. That's a step in the right direction. But who do you think is making these mistakes? Is it all happening on the misrepresentations, that is? Or is it all happening on the local level, or is some of it happening at the top?
It's absolutely happening at the top. The same economists that misread the economy, misforecasted what the right stimulus would be, are now misreporting what the effects are. And we saw it today with Dr. Irons, who wanted to say all these things were the previous president's fault and all the good that was fine. And he wanted to gloss over the 3.8 million jobs lost while saying that the 640,000, including the ripple effect, it could be even larger.
Representative Issa, did you feel, and were you as outspoken during, say, for example, the $1 trillion Iraq war, where we saw all kinds of problems and violations, and again, taxpayer money going to fund this war, and you had companies like Halliburton, which Dick Cheney, the former vice president, ran before he became vice president. There were mistaken contracts, there were scandals, there were all kinds of things that cost the taxpayer a lot of money.
Well, first of all, we should always avoid going to war because war is messy, it's wasteful, it's inaccurate, and our loved ones die. Having said that, I was just as outraged at the missteps in the Iraq war. I certainly felt that we didn't know how to account for cash when cash was being used on the battlefield to go to foreigners. We certainly did a terrible job of building the nearly $1 billion new embassy in Iraq. The list of things that were done wrong in Iraq and in Afghanistan are long. The difference is they were done because of a war, whether we like it or not, that we were in. In this case, the stimulus was completely subjective, completely based on the assumption that somehow if you throw money at government, you'll help the private sector. And today what we saw was 2/3 of the jobs went to teachers alone. And if anyone thinks that teachers are important, I agree with them. But if they say that, in fact, they have a ripple effect of new economy, they certainly don't.
Representative Issa, thank you. We're so glad you were able to get in front of our cameras. We do appreciate it. We'll see you next time.